Fun, you know already. If it's Monday, Casualty 911 is on.
911.
All right. If I'm not here, maybe Rome or somebody is going to be here just to facilitate the show. Good morning to you, Fawn. Welcome inside another edition of our show. Very informative.
Thank you. Thank you to Romanus and
Mhm,
Erlan for working so hard and so quickly
mhm.
to get the technical issues sorted out this morning. Good morning to our listeners. It's always a pleasure to have you with us. To our new listeners, today we have two wonderful guests with us this morning, and I hope that our regular listeners, I cannot call out a list this morning because we're running a little late. This month, February, is the month of love.
Okay. All right.
Well,
All
it's
right.
Valentine's Day, although many people don't celebrate and so on. But I
Right, right,
always think
right.
of it as just a moment to
Mhm.
pause and to be thankful and grateful and show, because sometimes there are people in our lives that we love, but the day to day of running here, there, everywhere, we don't set aside the time to make them know how much they are appreciated, how much we love them. It's also the month of independence.
Mhm.
St. Lucia's independence on the 22nd of February. So that is love of country. And if we love country, we should love everybody in it. We may not always get along with every single person, but generally speaking, we love country. So today we're going to talk about a very special gift that we can give to family, friends, and strangers. And that is the gift of blood. We're going to be talking about blood donation today. Sometime last year, Louisa had some guests on, but they were affiliated with the blood bank OKEU Hospital. And I always think it's ever so important for those of us down on the other end to know about that which is closer to us. It's St. Jude Hospital is where we most of us go. Those of us in Soufrière, Choiseul, Labrie, Vieux-Fort, Micoud. That is where we go when we need medical care that requires, being in a hospital
Right.
most of the time.
True.
So today we have with us from the St. Jude Hospital lab, we have Miss Natasha Stanislas, who is the medical lab assistant, and also Miss Sheena Frederick, the lab supervisor. I believe Natasha will be doing most of the talking, but I'm sure Sheena will be joining in. So today they're going to be talking all things blood donation, including the importance of regular voluntary donation, reasons why people may need blood, how often a person can donate, the procedure and the process of blood donation, and how you can donate, where you can donate in the south of the island, how much blood is collected, everything related to blood donation. If you have any questions, please feel free. Ulan, can you share the
Ag-
telephone number?
Again, for persons who want to make a contribution, the number is 459-7885. All right. Or you can send us a WhatsApp, send us a voice note, 730-5388. Okay.
Thank you so much. So, right now, we welcome our personnel from the St. Jude Hospital Lab, Miss Natasha Stanislas and Sheena Franklin. Just say hi, and then you can start wherever you wish.
Um, Hold on. I think she's gonna get
Just
your mic.
unmute your
Unmute
mic.
your yeah. Yes, yes. Unmute your mic. Nice. Very good.
Good
Go
morning.
ahead, ladies.
Good morning, family. Thanks for having us on this station today.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for welcoming St. Jude's Hospital Lab and giving us a voice. As Fawn said earlier, most times we hear what's happening at OKU and up north. But thanks for giving us a voice this morning, and we hope our session can be a bit informative. So I will hand over to Natasha, who is going to be doing the major part of it this morning.
Good morning, Natty.
Welcome, Natasha.
Thank you. Good morning. Okay. First of all, Fawn, like you said, it is the month of February and it's the month of giving. Blood donation is very precious. It's a very precious gift that anyone could give to somebody. It's a voluntary process which saves many lives. One donation can save up to three lives. Blood transfusions are life saving interventions which treats a number of acute, major medical disease disorders, and there is the dialysis part as well. You know, we have a lot of dialysis patients on island, so yes, we do need blood for the dialysis patients. We need blood during childbirth, major surgeries, and all the accidents. We do need blood. It's very critical that our blood bank is fully stocked because we have so many incidents and accidents around. So it is a challenge for us at St. Jude's as well because keeping up with blood donations can be very tedious because we do not get voluntary donors most of the time. So it is something we have to work on. It's a challenge, and would like to advise the public, inform the public as much donations. Any blood type is required.
Okay, so it's always interesting to hear that we say the blood bank. So people need to, maybe we could think in terms of resetting our mind frame, our frame of mind in terms of it being a bank. In order for you to be able to pull out of the bank, you must put in. So it's basically almost like a savings
Mm-hmm.
account. So
Mm-hmm.
if you don't put anything in, and that's why um I wanted to really focus on, I know in St. Lucia it's very often we talk about donating for a friend or for a family member. We see the flyers out, this person needs blood, and so on. So I'm sure later on, when you talk about the process, we will realize that many times the person that we are donating in the name of such and such a person, say Jane, Mary Jane. So you're donating for Mary Jane, but
Some
Mary Jane may not actually need the blood
blood.
type that you
Mm-hmm.
have, and she may need it so urgently that they cannot use the blood that you donate, even though you are the same blood type. So it's basically knowing, when we say the bank, we're thinking about you build your savings so that anytime you need it, there's a need, you can pull out. Is it something like that?
Yes, actually, for our blood banking is like it's more like a bank, right? The name says it all, a blood banking system. So we have a functioning blood bank would have blood types of A pause, B pause, the O pause, the O neg, right? And in case of an emergency, we would use one from the bank, which matches the patient who's in need of. Upon using this unit, it has to be replaced. So that's why we ask patients or the relatives to come and donate for the family member or whoever's having the surgery. So it's like a credit.
Yes. Now, in terms of it being a credit, if, for example, let's say, for example, you have the blood bank and then you have so many voluntary donors who donate regularly. So they do that repeatedly. And just remind us how often a person can donate for the year. So they do that repeatedly, then there really would be no need to ask to donate for a family member or a friend, right?
Okay, fine. Repeatedly, there is a limit for blood donations. I guess I'll be getting to this right now. You could only donate 90 days after, which is 3 months, within a 3 month time frame. So, yes, you can donate, right? Sometimes you donate and then unfortunately something happens to your family and you've just donated blood. And then you have to wait 3 months later to donate. So, yes, voluntary donors, but you also have to give the body time as well to catch up with the necessary, you know. So yes, so it's not just like donating blood as frequently as possible. It must be a time frame of 3 months period.
And that goes for both men and women.
The women will extend it to 4 months.
Any particular reason why?
You see, with women, we have something called menstruation. So every month,
Every month we give.
yes,
Every month we give whether we want to or not. So I guess with the
yes.
women we shifted to 4 months.
Okay. So when we think about it in that way, any male can donate 4 times for the year, and a lady can donate about 3 times for the year, right?
That's about it. But yes, we also need them to bear in mind as well. After donation, you need to practice the healthy habits of hydration and the proper foods, so you could build back your hemoglobin.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let us go back a little bit. You mentioned several different reasons why a patient at the hospital would need blood. So you mentioned childbirth. Many people don't think of childbirth as a time when a woman may need blood. So could you explain a little bit to the public, if you so desire, of course, um, why childbirth, whether natural or cesarean, would require blood donations? Why a woman would require blood at that point in time?
So for now, I'll hand over this question to Mrs. Franklin. Miss Franklin, sorry.
Okay, fun. In childbirth, it is something that there it is never a definitive, or sometimes you never know what can happen during childbirth. So some persons may figure, but they're just going to deliver a baby, so why do I need to have blood? But you never know what can happen until it happens. So that's one of the reasons we encourage our maternity patients, if you know, or if you're going to have natural childbirth, you should have at least 1 unit of blood there, because you do not want a scenario where there's an emergency while you're delivering and there's nothing we can do for you. Also, when you have the persons going for cesarean sections, that is even can be even more critical, whether it's elective or not, because as I said, you never know what can happen that may cause the person. You may have a rupture, you may have a bleed, something that will be a little excessive, and the person may require blood. So it's always encouraged to be on the safe side where these things are concerned.
Okay, thank you. So there are other surgeries as well. As long as somebody is going in to have some kind of surgery, it would be prudent, I suppose, to also have blood donations. We're not even speaking about the accidents, vehicular accidents, the stabbings and so on. We're talking about normal, just ordinary issues that could require blood at the hospital. So we have surgeries, and what else?
We
What
have
other
we have
illnesses would I think I saw something recently about somebody having sickle cell disease and requesting blood donations. So could you just speak a little bit more to us about some of the health conditions where somebody may suddenly urgently require blood?
In the cases of our so that's what we probably look at these as medical cases. So I guess in the sicklers, there's sometimes that their blood count may be on the low side. You have persons who may have chronic conditions that will be causing them to lose blood, and it may not all happen at one time. It may be something that happens over a period of time. But then when you find their blood count gets really low, and they start to get symptomatic, so they start getting headaches, they have weakness, they have fainting spells, that is when they probably would come in, and that's when they would realize that the blood count is so low that they actually require blood. In some cases, they maintain their blood level just with iron. but in some cases, they may require a unit of blood or plasma to give them a boost. We also have like the lupus patients, and we have some patients that will have platelet issues. So they will require platelet, which is one of the components of blood. So there are different reasons medically. Surgically, as you said, once a person is going for surgery, you ask them to have blood on standby. And then we also have our dialysis patients who, because of the procedure they go through, sometimes 3 times a week, they also require blood. So there are a lot of different reasons. And as you said, we have not even mentioned the emergency cases, the stabbings, accidents, and all these things. So that is why, besides having family oriented donations, like when somebody is going for a surgery or when somebody is sick, then you have persons donate. We try to encourage voluntary donors. And I must admit, I don't know if it's a social, if it's a cultural issue, but generally, we do not have persons donating voluntarily. It is something that in most countries they try to get an increase or a balance of more voluntary versus family oriented donors. Because you find with like the sorry, the family oriented donors, like a lot of the times persons come to donate, but they're under pressure. They're scared.
Mhm.
Figure they have to do it because it's my mother, it's my father, it's my sister, and
Exactly.
the rest of the family members are on them, and they're expecting this out of them, and we need our donors healthy and in the best of frame of mind and everything. So that is why we push for the humanitarian aspect of it. So we prefer to have them voluntarily walk in and decide, hey, I'm going to give a unit of blood today. And I may just sign up to do this every 3 months or every 4 months. So that is why we move more toward, we're trying to move more towards voluntary donors as opposed to, because it's considered one of the safest and most effective ways of providing blood. So that's what we work towards.
And I think education is key in terms of people understanding what blood donation is all about, why we have the bank, how the bank operates. So that is why I'm so happy that both of you were able to join us today. So, in terms of, we spoke a little bit about just basically about women and men donating. So let us look at some of the other conditions for donation in terms of who can donate. At what age can somebody begin to donate? Are there any health conditions, medical conditions that would prevent somebody from donating where the person would not be allowed to donate because they have a certain medical condition? Let's talk about
Or even piercings as well.
menstruating. Yes, piercings,
Tattoos, all
tattoos,
of yeah.
breastfeeding women, and so on. People who are postmenopausal who really can donate.
Okay, that's a lot fun to ask.
Yes, so you can take it a little at a time. We can start with the age.
So I'll just give you a little summary.
Okay.
Okay, with the who can donate and who cannot donate, we have the issue of we have more like a process we have to go through an interview process where we ask about conditions. So people with chronic conditions such as heart failure, um, dialysis patient will not be able to give blood. If you are pregnant, we cannot take a unit of blood from you. We also those with tattoos and piercings that are not advised. It must be a period of 12 months before you could give blood after your tattoos and your piercings. The age range we're looking for donation is from 18 to 65. We have a cutoff point of 70. So people from 70 onwards, we do not take blood from them. Okay.
Why is that? They need it, or why?
Well, at that point, I think they need it more, and then you're heading downward. So we're not as healthy as we were 20 years ago. So we will not put the person at risk at 70. Okay, did I miss out anyone?
Okay, so
Oh
well,
yes,
since COVID and our how would I put it?
the
We are
vaccine.
so very much aware of people having respiratory symptoms, the cold, the flu, that sort of thing. Can somebody who is experiencing any of those respiratory symptoms come in to donate?
Good point, Fawn. Yes, people with respiratory illnesses such as the flu or COVID, we ask them to come after a month. Yes, 1 month later.
1 month post. Okay.
Yeah, 1 month. Post.
All right. So
That
you
goes.
Sorry.
Sorry, and that
go
goes
ahead.
with vaccine, and that goes with the vaccine too as well. 1 month post from vaccine.
Okay. All right. So you mentioned not putting people who are older at risk. Are there any known potential risks involved in blood donation? That a person who goes into the donate, are there any adverse effects they may experience?
Well, adverse experience like after donation. That's what you're trying to tell me, Fawn.
Yes.
Most people after donation, if you do not eat before blood donation, most people would faint. And I think that also comes with a fear of the needle for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
They faint, they would have a low blood pressure afterwards, they would feel nauseous, they would feel sleepy. These are the adverse reactions. But after donation, we advise our donors to hydrate and rest, lots of rest.
Okay, so it would be best if people have a solid meal before they donate, basically.
Yes. Sorry, yes. It's best advised that you have something, a solid breakfast. Do not come on an empty stomach and have something on your stomach within 4 hours at least.
Yes. So do not so basically, even though you'll be offered a malt, don't come dying of hunger saying you'll drink the malt and you'll be all right.
Well, I get at a lot fun where people come and they drink 2 malts already and they can donate the blood and they had nothing heavy on their stomachs.
Ah,
So yes, we would advise people to eat, at least have a heavy breakfast or lunch and come in and donate. Okay, because afterwards you need all the strength that you can get out of my chair.
exactly, because you are actually giving away some of your blood, so you need to make sure that you have the strength to function afterwards.
Yes, we need the strength.
So when you talk about donating, you mentioned you get a unit of blood from each person. So what really is a unit of blood? How
A
much
u-
blood is that really?
It's approximately 300 milliliters to 350 mLs that's collected from the donor.
Okay. And
So
there's all yes, go ahead.
we call that a pint of blood.
A pint of blood.
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to I think I lost my train of thought.
Because you have so many questions for me, phone, you see?
Yes, I'm bombarding you.
Hey, great.
That's okay. At least the public
Oh,
will be well notified after today.
yeah, phone have me.
Okay, you also mentioned people having a fear of needles, which is actually a real fear that I witnessed. During the COVID vaccination drive, the number of people who are really afraid of needles. So for people who have that phobia, I mean, you also mentioned earlier that people come under duress. Basically, a family member needs it urgently and they come. But in terms of our voluntary donors, people who are healthy, they don't have too many risky behaviors and they want to come in to donate, but they have a fear of needles. What would your advice be to
Just don't look at the needle.
that's a afraid of nothing. Well, that's why they're giving blood.
Oh, you don't have to tell me that. I get that every day, that fear of that needle. And, it's a
And
point
it
that,
is quite a big needle, to be honest.
yeah, it's
Yes.
engaged and it's okay. I don't want to scare the public, but
Rich.
No, we don't want to scare them, but you have to um you have to be real. It
mind over
is,
matter.
yes, it is quite a large needle. But as you said, people can always try to find ways to relax, not look at the needle, think of something pleasant, that sort of thing. Do some breathing exercises, that sort of thing, to help them along. All
Yeah,
right.
the breathing exercises might make the blood pressure go up. So I asked them to come, and you could listen to your music if you want,
Okay.
and try and relax. We don't have a we don't have a television where you could watch some football or something, but you could listen to your television. I mean your music, and try and relax, and let me try and do my work.
Now you put the cat out of the bag when you say we don't have a television to watch football. Right away. Everybody knows it's the men that crying. A lot of the men have that fear.
So yeah, that's true. That's true. I think women are tougher than the men.
So when we talk about the blood donation, can you just walk us through the process? So let us say John decides, you know what? I heard the ladies from the lab speak about blood donation and how important it is for volunteers to come forward to donate blood. I've never done it before, so I think I will come in. What can John expect when he gets to the St. Jude Hospital lab to donate?
Okay. Firstly, John will have to walk through the corridors to get to the laboratory. Upon arrival, um, the blood donation includes a registration. It's like a triage. So we have to register you first, get some information from you, do a hemoglobin check, question you about your last meal within the
So
last.
how do you do the hemoglobin check?
We use a finger stick for the hemoglobin check.
Okay.
And we have a smart machine called a diaspect, which gives us a hemoglobin check. So we don't use the water solution with the copper
Ah,
sulfate anymore.
I think the last time I donated it was the water.
It's copper sulfate, it's not a water.
Was it
Copper
Copper
sulfate.
sulfate.
copper sulfate?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so upon doing this registration check, the blood pressure, the hemoglobin, and questioning you about your meal, your last meal, if everything is okay, we continue with an interview to determine the individual's lifestyle, health, and social issues. If the interview is okay, then we proceed for the blood donation, which is the collection
So,
of
what
blood.
sort of questions? Can you give a few examples of some of the questions he might expect during that interview?
Okay, we ask about your sexual partners, number one. Well, that's one of them. Your partners, your lifestyle. Have you eaten any diseases that we should be aware of? Any epilepsy, if you're epileptic? Any conditions, any surgeries? Have you received any blood in the last 6 months? Any risk of being pregnant for the ladies? And any vaccines, or have you traveled outside of St. Lucia in the last six months? And upon asking about the traveling, we ask usually you go to travel for business or pleasure. So we'd further question you about that. Okay.
Speaking of which, yeah, a while ago she made mention of epilepsy, right? What is today?
Today is a
International Epilepsy Day.
Well, I'm not aware of it, but thank you, Ulan. If you checked it out and that is correct, then thank you for the heads up. I wasn't aware.
ooh,
Ooh, yeah,
Okay.
ooh.
So based on the interview, then you would determine whether the person is a good candidate to donate, right?
Yes, based on this interview, we have a term we use as accept or deferred in blood banking. So if you're an acceptable donor, then we go ahead to collect a unit. If you're a deferred donor, it could be from one of the questions we ask that we are not able to collect this unit
So when you say deferred, it means that the person can try again, John can try again at a later date.
at a later date. Maybe John had a tattoo he just had in 3 months or a month ago, so he cannot donate blood because it's too recent. Or
Okay.
or he had a medical condition that he did not mention earlier, and we found out that maybe he had some heart issue and then or some other disease.
Now, Fawn, if I
Yes.
add, one of the things I spoke about earlier with the pressures of being the family oriented versus voluntary. So I don't know if you have ever, or if you know anybody who's ever experienced the interview process. So there's a part of it that gets very personal and very invasive.
Mhm.
That's how some people describe it.
Yeah.
So, in us trying to get an idea of your lifestyle, as she says, we go social, everything. So,
Mhm.
then you will find, like with family oriented donors, if I'm going to ask, if you're here to donate for a husband or a wife, but I have to ask you about your sexual partners and how many sexual partners you have, it gets a little ticklish because if for some reason I have to defer you based on the amount of your sexual partners, the questions we get is how do I go back and tell my husband or my wife or my mother or brother that I was deferred because of these reasons? So that is why sometimes we say we prefer to have our voluntary donors so you don't have the extra pressure of being answerable to a significant other when, if or when you fail the interview process. Because for
Exactly.
whatever reason you fail it, it is confidential. But
Mm-hmm.
you now have to go back and face your family as to but why you didn't give the blood. So we have had persons that tell us, but they don't know what to go and say because. And then when you have family oriented and persons who are familiar with the process, persons tend to not be fully honest with the responses because I have to give this unit of blood. So I am going to say what I have to say to ensure I give this unit of blood. But our process is followed up by testing. So we still test the units afterwards. So
Okay.
that is not a fear. That's a fear that we can get rid of. But it puts a little pressure, especially on the non-voluntary donors, the interview process.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you for that clarification. That could be quite ticklish, I can imagine.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, so once John has gone through the interview process, now it's time to donate. What happens then?
Now John has to face this 16 gauge needle, and John has to be sit in a seated position or lying position. In our case, we have the donors lying in a lying position. So it takes roughly about 15 to 20 minutes for these bags to be up to the 300 to 350 mLs or our unit of blood.
Okay, so the entire process, including the interview, would be about approximately how long?
I would say it depends on it depends on how fast the person bleeds too, because we cannot rush. The interview would go about 20 minutes. The bleeding process is how fast the person moves, because we cannot determine that. Everybody is different, so we
Yes.
have to be mindful of that as well.
And some people don't have the hand strength to pump the ball.
Right, and that's yes, that's the process that some people don't faint or
Yes.
give up on us.
Yes. So, in other words, it's not a process that takes half a day or 2 hours. Maybe within an hour, they should be done.
Within an hour, half an hour, yes,
Yes,
that's
they should be done.
be done.
So, really and truly, the time is not so much of an issue in terms of donating. Maybe access to the location, because um, some people may not go to the hospital specifically to donate, unless, as we mentioned earlier, it's for a friend or a family member and it's needed urgently. So I know that at some point you had the mobile blood bank. Is it operational? Um, do you still do community outreach? What's happening with that?
I know that's your it's for Franklin's one.
So right now, our blood bank, we're having some mechanical issues. So yes, we're not out there as much as we would like, but we do not want to deter, for example, organizations or establishments that may want us to come to them. Because if you have a room, and if you have like a room, there's some places that may have like a nursing area or a nursing station, or some place we can set up a cot, we can still come to you. But for right now, currently, our mobile unit is not road worthy as yet. We just need to get the generator going.
Okay. So um in the meantime, while that is being worked on, um what if maybe a youth club or something wants to organize a blood drive as part of their community outreach program? How could they, what would they need to put in place
Okay, so
to facilitate that?
we can accommodate something like that if it's properly planned. So for example, let's say a few months ago I had the one of the clubs that offered to come in to get their members together, and they came in on a Saturday. So we can just make arrangements for somebody to be there, because we're not generally open to the public on Saturdays. But if I have a group that wants to come in on a Saturday, we can accommodate that on a Saturday, preferably like a Saturday morning, you know. Um, or as I said, if there's some place that they have that we can go to, we can accommodate that. During the week, it's acceptable too, but it just gets a little crowded. So we try not to have it clash with the patients. But hopefully, our bus should be up and running within a very short period. So we'll be able to go out. But persons are generally, um, we generally ask persons to, you can write to us, you can call, you can send an email asking us, and we can work something out because,
So maybe now would be a good time to share the number that they can call or the email address that they can write to.
so they can get the lab at 459-6758. They can get 459-6765 or 459-6811.
So they can use any of those numbers to make those arrangements for
Yes.
group donations.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. And once they have called, maybe they can be given the email address if necessary.
Yes.
Okay,
They can.
wonderful. So currently, since the mobile bank is not really up and running, what what are the hours for donation at the lab in the hospital?
So we accept donors between 8:30, we say 8:39. Reason being because we find between 8 and 9 we have a lot of fasting patients. So we don't want to keep our donors waiting. So we try from about 9 o'clock and we go up to about 2:30 for our blood donors.
Okay, wonderful. And just remind us what the current status is at the blood bank.
You sure you want us to air all our dirty
No.
laundry?
Well, okay, on a scale of, let's use a scale then.
Let's say it's
On
critical.
a scale
Let's
of
say it's
1 to
critical
10,
for us.
how urgently do we need blood at the blood bank, blood to be donated?
Every day.
Let's say a 10.
A
We're very
10.
critical these days
So,
because
Donate
we're
every day.
supposed to have a minimum stock of each blood type. So O positive, A positives, B positives. So we try to maintain a minimum stock of at least 4 units for each blood type. And we do not have that at present.
and that is a very low minimum actually,
Yes.
considering, I mean, it's a hospital.
Yes. So we probably need to you know,
So
revisit
we
that.
are really at a 10.
Yes, we are.
So we would like to encourage the listening public to go in. If you're in Viewport and you can go in, please go in and donate. You've heard about all the requirements, you know what the process is like. Make some time to please donate. We do not know when we ourselves or somebody close to us. And as I said, it's Independence Month. We're out here being patriotic with our flags on our vehicles and going out to watch the baton relay and wearing our national colors and all of that. And that is one step further that we can go to actually donate blood to build up our blood savings at the St. Jude
Now,
Hospital
fun
lab.
around this time, you get accidents, persons riding reckless, driving reckless,
Yes.
all those things do happen. Persons get hit by oncoming vehicle or oncoming traffic, that is. So,
Yes. So it's an opportune time to make that decision to walk into the lab and donate. Please, people, go in, donate, donate, donate. As both Sheena and Natasha have said, it does not really matter what the blood type is. All blood types are welcome. And I think one of the things we probably failed to, it was mentioned, but to highlight that there is at least one benefit to donating blood other than just feeling good that you did something to help another person or several people, because as you've heard, the blood can be broken down and used for different things. I think Natasha said at the beginning 3 people can benefit from 1 unit of
yes,
blood.
yes, she did.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, you did say that. So we really encourage people to go in and donate, and that benefit to the donor is that Sheena, would you like to tell them what the benefit is? The
Well, for the
testing
donors,
one?
it is a healthy practice because it allows you to regenerate cells. So it's like you give up a unit and you regenerate fresh cells. So it keeps you healthy as well.
And again, not just that alone. Sometimes you have a disease you even know you had. So after testing your blood, running,
That too.
you
That
get to
too.
know, hey, come to think of it, hence the reason why I used to have some nasty spells, disease spells, or any other form of you feeling sick.
Exactly. So apart from just testing for the STIs and so on, maybe just through the interview process, you
Yes.
can get to know certain things about your health and your medical status. Right? So is there anything else any of you would like to share with us before we end the program?
As I guess, as we've generally been saying, February, as you said, is the month of love. So the gift of blood is, an amazing gift to give. It may not necessarily, I mean, you never know who is the next person that is going to be there that needs that unit of blood. You never know. It could be you,
Yes, I was
it's
about to say that.
somebody close to
It
you.
might be you.
It could be you. So it's like, and as you said, if you have, it puts you in a better position. If I have money in the bank, I can go and withdraw money from the bank. So let's
Exactly.
look at it the same way. If I have blood in the bank, I can go and withdraw blood from the bank. So we encourage persons to come in and give a unit of blood.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Mhm.
I think it was very, very informative. You did a wonderful job. And I hope that everybody listening out there will take it in and make that decision to, at least if you've never done it, to try at least once. And once you've done it, to continue. Maximum 3 times a year for ladies, 4 times, but that does not mean that you have to go the maximum number of times. So if you can go once or twice a year, that is still very much appreciated. Okay, so thank you to Sheena. Thank you to Natasha. It was a pleasure having you with us today. We look forward to bringing you in again at some other time. And hopefully, um, soon I'll be able to give an update and say, we're not at a 10 now, we're at a 9. It's getting there.
Definitely.
We would like to see that fun. Thank you very much for having us on your show.
It was a pleasure. Thank you so
Likewise.
much.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you to our listeners. We've come to the end of the program. It was so it this is something I've wanted to do for a long time, to have the personnel from the St. Jude Hospital lab to come and talk about blood donation. And I am so happy we got that those technical issues sorted out. Thank you again to Ulan and Romanus. Oh, what a wonderful team. Have a wonderful day, everybody. And Louisa should be with you next Monday.
Casualty 911, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. with the consultant. Health is not merely the absence of diseases. It is your social, economic, physical, spiritual, and mental well-being. Just imagine you're on 88.5 Sufra FM, talking, questioning, sharing your experience, information, education, entertainment, instructions,